Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pilates Exchange. I'm your host, Hannah Teucher, and
My name is Chris. Welcome.
welcome. This is the podcast where we talk everything Pilates, running a business, teaching mostly is where we're going to specialize in, but we also give our Pilates practitioners lots of tips and tricks in there. Today we decided that we would like to talk a little bit about the trend of Pilates. So this is an ongoing thing that we've been discussing for over many podcasts, but also, just our community, Pilates community at large. And we thought it's time to revisit now that we've done a little bit of traveling and had a little bit more thought.
I think it's going to be a big topic with lots of opinions, and I'm just reminding myself and everyone out there, this is just our opinion. There's no right and no wrong. Of course, everyone can do whatever they want to do. So now the question is, should we start talking about how Pilates was when we learned it or when we start practicing it? Or you just want to jump right into where we see Pilates right now or what it came up last year?
So let's just
Okay.
say it like this. We know that Pilates has been around for a really long time, and when I joined the Pilates world over 20 years ago, it looks very, very different than it even was a couple years ago when you started teaching.
Yes.
More than a couple years ago. We're a long time into it, anyways. But this evolution that we see right now, we wanted to talk a little bit more about, and where perhaps we see it going in the future. Of course, we're not we can't see into our crystal balls, but we have a couple ideas of where we think it might be going. So you want to just take us off with maybe even what you've noticed in the past year, at least in Europe. I know that different communities have different trends, right?
No, I would definitely. We noticed, and it got, especially reformer Pilates, like we all know, we saw it on social media everywhere. It got more popular. So there were a lot of studios opening up, and just people had a great experience with Pilates, and they decided to open up studios, and they're just like kind of popping up like the mushrooms in the forest.
So, but not Pilates. Let's just say like it's one aspect of Pilates. Like in our community, it's just reformer. That's what we're seeing is studios that are opening with just one aspect of it. So I want to be clear with that, right?
Yes, it's mostly, and then what mostly happened is I was not only in the same studio, was not only reformer Pilates, it was also, there was a cafe in there. They offered other things or some wellness treatments or things. So I had the feeling somehow that Pilates got pushed more into a lifestyle, into a fashion, that people want just to say that they're doing Pilates, but it's just about the surrounding, like kind of talking to your buddies, to your best friends. Oh, I've done Pilates yesterday and it was hard and it was cool. And then right after I got my matcha, and this is more not actually what Pilates does, where it comes from. It's more like, don't get me wrong, a superficial thing that, on personal my opinion, there's not really a big combination in between matcha, coffee, and Pilates, but it's just my personal opinion.
Well, I think
It
it's
doesn't really match
a,
somehow.
but I think it's a good business decision. Depending on, it could be a good business decision. So that's I think separate from where the trend is going. But you do see a lot of what you're saying. I believe like a lifestyle uh, perception of what people, like I think that's something different.
Yep.
But like if we look at just the trend in general, I would say it mirrors a lot of what the yoga community has been complaining about for years. There's different aspects of yoga, and some studios will teach all of the 8 limbs of yoga, and then others not. Like others will be just one physical, just focusing on the asana, and so just the postures and nothing else. And I think that mirrors what's happening in the Pilates world, where you have either just reformer or the whole system. So I think for me, it's very, very similar.
No, for me, what just came to my head is that before there was a spotlight on on Pilates, not only on the reformer, you had like some also mat, you have Cadillac, you have all the chair, you have all the things in the studio, and now the spotlight got like taken away and is putting it more on other aspects. For example, now the studio has to look like chic, boutique studio, big mirrors. Maybe I see a lot of pink. I need to see a lot of like super nice looking studios, and I don't know if that's just my opinion. It takes the spotlight away of the work you have to put in order to learn the method. You have to practice. It's not just like I go to Pilates once a month and I get the feeling from it. You get the feeling, yes, but you don't really get the benefits from it if you just do it once a month. So again, going back to the spotlight got taken away from the actual method and was putting it on something else.
More like on a superficial,
Yeah, on
like
a
a business.
superficial, yeah, just kind of when you go into this high-end boutique, not Pilates studios, just fashion stores, where you see there's just a couple of hangers of clothes and just another rack over there. It looked basically empty, and then you just kind of, what's this store about? If you just buy, I'm exaggerating that you get my point, just 2 pairs of pants and what a little shirt over there, and there's that kind of, okay, this is more like a layout, a museum, store where everything looks nice, or what you're focusing on here. This is what I'm trying to say, where I'm just a little bit having problems with that. Again, the spotlight got taken away from the actual method, was moving it on something else.
Think about how many hours a week you spend on admin, chasing payments, sending reminders, updating your schedule. Now imagine getting most of that time back. Offering Tree automates the back end of your studio so you can focus on your clients. It's not just software. Studio plans include one-on-one onboarding, twice monthly coaching calls, and a community of studio owners who really get it. Book a free demo using the link in our show notes. Mention Pilates Exchange and you'll get an exclusive discount to get started. It's worth 15 minutes of your time. So what you're saying is
or
that
maybe you can find better words. Or do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to decide, because I think there's a couple different aspects of it. We have like the Pilates business right now, so boutique fitness that goes into mainly reformer, and where it's dialed down the entire Pilates methodology to focus on one piece of equipment, and in that hyper fixation. There's also seems to be, for many studios, a fixation on the aesthetics of the studio, and maybe parallel offerings such as like matcha and coffee and stuff like that. It looks like, that would, I think, is the main trend right now that I see all around. I don't think that's going to go away in anytime soon, but I do think that it is a trend. It'll be there for a while, and just like it happened in the yoga world, there'll be other trends that are coming and going within there. I don't think all of the studios will survive it, because they're too similar, and I don't know if they're focusing on the quality of the product, and the product being the teaching and what the client experience is. That's my opinion. I think that there's some that will absolutely do very, very well, and we see it. But I don't think that all of them will be able to survive it.
Yes, like I said before, I just call it fashion Pilates because it's in fashion right now.
Yeah.
Everyone is like kind of, there were like, if you look back, in the 90s where I grew up, we had this high, I don't want to say brand name, everyone was wearing these high boots, and you were like 20 inches taller, and then there was the next thing was coming, what you have to wear, and then I don't know, was leather pants or something like that. So I think it's the same. I agree with you. Then it will fade and something else will come.
Yeah, I think so. But I can imagine, when we think about the trends of where it's going, I can imagine that we are nowhere close to the peak of where this reformer sensation is going. That's what I believe. But I do think that there'll be, and then also in big class formats for reformer, which maybe we could talk about that in a separate episode. What these big classes are like.
What do you mean when you have like 30, 35 reformers or one?
Yeah, we were in one studio with like 32 reformers.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
And so I think that that is different than, for example, the way that we teach our classical Pilates with our group classes for our classical. And I just want to be clear: classical is not like classical method. We are definitely more on like the contemporary side of things. We do teach creative adaptations and modifications and variations to what we're teaching, but we do use for those classes we use reformer and then tower and jump boards and chairs, like we do that, but there's only 5 people in there. So that's it's a different type of teaching. One is not better than the other. I think it just attracts different types of people, and that's where I feel like when we're talking about trends, I think that there'll be 2 different parallel trends where people will go back to maybe small class formats, more in the range of what our studio currently looks like.
6 to 8.
Yeah, like
something like that.
Right. And then I think that there'll be the large group focus. And I think we'll see right now, I think 12 is what I'm seeing as like the large group is where people are currently sitting at. But I think it's gonna be even larger for the people, like bigger groups. I can imagine that becoming more of a thing, like even larger in the 30s, where we had seen. That's a total different ballgame. I think you need to look at setting up the studio differently. Whether I think it's right or wrong has nothing to do with that. We're just talking about the trends.
The trend definitely that is going to be like in the 90s, where you had in this aerobic world, you had hundreds of people in one studio and everyone was moving together. Was great for the community. But anyway, that's a different topic with more reformers. But I believe also it's the same thing, that it's going to be either then as a practitioner, you decide if you want to stay with the intimate boutique studio environment with personal corrections, or it's going to be then with, like Hannah said, is what I also believe is like you have 30 plus reformers with microphone, with loud music, with a different concept of this method. And maybe also the equipment's going to change a little bit. It's going to get updated, upgraded, 21st century things. I believe that's going to be the one, whether that's helping the method or not, whether it's good for the people or not, it's not the point. It's just about talking about where we think the method's going to go. And of course, we always invite everyone. If you have your opinion, of course, we always.
I could also imagine like the, studios that are around our size will be like, for the young people, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, have you taken with these this old lady is teaching Pilates and she teaches the real deal, like, and I think we're going to be the cool people at some point, because I just remember that, for example, in our dance career,
the old teacher,
the old teacher, we would go and take classes with I remember a couple of different really famous teachers where you had to like sneak in to go get this class with this person who had been teaching for 50 years, and you had this great, amazing class. And, like I remember corrections from these classes, from these ballet classes. I remember what that feels like. And it was so special because it was it was exciting. And they had such a grasp of the history of dance, and the evolution that they saw in the classical ballet world, so I think what I guess I'm saying is that I believe that there's room for all of us. And what's going to be interesting is that you lean into your own values and what your mission is with your teaching in your studio. And what do you want to be leaving as a legacy behind you? Again, we're not saying anything is good or bad. It's just you need to be making choices at this point, I believe.
It's like kind of then, okay, let's go to this old couple, to this old dude, and they're teaching old school Pilates. Because the younger generation, they don't know, they don't know what we learned. And, sometimes when you meet something for the first time, you think that's it.
Yeah.
That's where, and then you do some research. Or for example, the other day, I'm doing a mini sidetrack. I was listening to a song, and I was like, oh, that's a nice cover. No, that was the original. I was like, oh, wait, now it's from the 70s and not from the 90s. So that was interesting. So maybe it's going to be also like that. And then it's going to be the old school, sorry if I say it like that, the old school is maybe going to be in fashion again.
Oh, yeah.
And in a different kind of way. Everything is always coming back in a way.
It's always cyclical.
Yeah.
So I think it's exciting. I still think it's exciting times. I mean, we are... we're reading the trends because it affects, we have our podcast. And I think that some of you guys out there really overestimate the size of our business. Like we got one studio, we got one location. You know, we're doing our thing that fits our community, and those are our choices. It's not, we do not have multiple studios. You know, we haven't franchised out or anything like that. You know, so what we're doing is we are, as teachers and the studio owner, we are reading trends, we're trying to understand them, and our, you know, our love of teaching and giving back is in the form of this podcast, of trying to also make sense of it. So I don't think we have all of the answers at all by any means. Like, this is always like, we live in the gray in this studio, in this podcast. We're just trying to offer you guys some insights of what we're seeing and doing.
We're the normal people. You see, we don't have a studio where everything is soundproofed, and
in
we
fact,
do our social media ourselves. We don't hire anyone.
No, in fact, we are we are recording this podcast right out of the garage of my parents' place, because we believe in, you know, better done than perfect, and we would like to continue. And sometimes that's just what you have to do, right? Like, you got to just keep going forward. We got some stuff that we're dealing with again, and so moving forward and onwards and trying to make the choices of what your values are, and that's exactly what we're doing and why we're showing up in a garage for you guys. And I encourage you to take what you need with
exactly.
With
I think that was
all right.
We did.
We gave the information that we had talked about.
Gave my opinion, gave your opinion, we wrapped it up. So again, if you want to say something, reach out, Instagram, email.
Yeah.
We're open, talk to us. We're humans.
Yeah.
We're not any computer or something like that.
All right, you guys, have happy teaching. We'll see you in the next episode, and hope you're well.
Yep. Bye-bye.